Hi, good afternoon everybody. Lovely to see so many of you here. Very much appreciate it given the state of the weather. It feels very British today here with the rain that we've currently had. And welcome to this year's annual Lighthouse seminar, Mastering the Modern Mind. So I am the Chief Exec and founder of the Lighthouse Company in London and in New York, and our business identifies really and places many of the top leaders within our industry, both here in New York and across Europe. And I've also been studying and now practice as a psychotherapist at the Grove Clinic in London as well, so I have two hats on today. At the Lighthouse, we are very lucky to represent many of the agency networks from Dentsu, WPP, Omnicom, etc., and many of the majority of the big modern media owners, so Snapchat and Facebook and Twitter and Hearst and The Guardian, Wall Street Journal, AOL and beyond. As many of you know, the Lighthouse has a very specific interest in the human condition, bringing an understanding of psychology and some psychotherapy to our interview rooms with assessments and encounters with the many clients and candidates that we do actually represent. And it makes us pretty unique, actually, in the talent representation space, both sides of the Atlantic. It is this continual fascination with the human leadership mind that has encouraged us to bring this very special seminar to the Liberty Theatre this afternoon. Every year at the Lighthouse, we undertake a survey of over 1,000 CEOs and monitor both the attitudinal patterns and ambitious outlooks of our industry's leading executives. In addition, we utilise our highly privileged bird's eye view to really look at the hypotheses of the reported and observed behaviours appearing in the very boardrooms into which we are invited. What has struck me most as I work with both these hypergrowth and legacy businesses is the increasing levels of anxiety and fear being carried by the leadership. Driven by expectation to deliver exponential revenue to shareholders, VCs, Wall Street, increasing levels of expectation to be always on, given the availability of technology, and the never-ending hunger and desire to invent and innovate at the speed of light, often with little room for failed experimentation and on a very scant investment, often never ahead of the revenue. So it's no wonder that earlier this year, a study by Harvard Business School and Stanford University revealed that our biggest stressor was the fact that we might lose our jobs, something that increased our odds of poor health by 50%. This compilation of 228 studies concluded that high work stress increased odds of diagnosed illness by 35% and the chance of early death by 20%. And that workplace stress is just as bad for you as second-hand smoke. Don't get me wrong, I adore our industry, and I'm not about to all go brown rice and sandals on you. I'm one ambitious entrepreneur myself. I work a solid 16-hour day, Monday to Friday. I practice as a therapist on a Saturday, and I have two glorious children to keep me out of mischief. I love seeing the latest virtual reality and how that's going to affect our lives. I like to try the new wearables and learn how they'll change the way we consume information and media. I love reading academic papers and listening to debates about clean data and programmatic inventions and dynamic versus static pricing. I get it. However, what these 80 hours a week in boardrooms and interview rooms tell me, coupled with the privileged experience of sitting with my therapy clients each week, is it's costing our human condition dearly. Let me tell you this. The World Health Organization has cited stress as the health epidemic of the 21st century. Its estimated cost to the US economy is over $300 billion every year. While 60% of this cost comes in the form of loss of earnings, another third is through healthcare and almost 10% through disability benefits as a result of an individual suffering irreversible breakdown. In 2013, clinical psychologist Bob Rosen claimed that every leader experiences anxiety due to those factors of increased uncertainty, personal burnout, cynical employees, and of course the stuttering economy. In 2014, it was estimated around 42 million American adults suffer with some kind of mental illness, enduring conditions such as depression, anxiety, and panic attacks, which impaired their ability to work. And in 2015, the Families and Work Institute and Gallup published a poll stating that a quarter of the US labour force are working over 50 hours every week, with 1 in 5 working a 6- or 7-day week. Layer onto that the recent data from the US Travel Association that states since the turn of the millennium, the number of vacation days taken by the average worker in America has dropped from 21 to just 16 days. Is it any surprise that we're seeing this high level of burnout? And not one of us in this room is immune. Our ability to master our modern mind and our emotions will vary very individually. Our brains are unique organs, and no two, of course, are the same. This means how we deal with our mental state will vary too. So whilst many of us may proudly march off to the gym and undertake our annual company medical and now better understand the effects of diet, exercise, alcohol, nicotine intake, we are yet to wonder what our mental state might be. Thanks to the glorious Ariana Huffington, we might sleep a little more, we might meditate a little more, and thanks to Sheryl Sandberg, we might have addressed our work-life balance a little more. But where is the equal pride and proactivity in looking after 50% of our human functioning system, our beautiful minds? One thing remains constant for each of us. We are all living in this age of anxiety, and how we understand this, and just importantly, how we deal with it, will determine how we make a success of our personal and professional lives. We are still feeling the effects of the aftermath of the recession, with many of us now doing the work of multiple headcount. And as if trying to remain relevant in our roles was not enough, we're also having to burden greater responsibility than ever before. We all know here in New York in the last 8 months we've seen unprecedented levels of pitching with the likes of GSK, L'Oreal, Sony, J&J, P&G, Coca-Cola, etc. all reviewing their business, and profits, people and reputations have been on the line. At 4 p.m. today, I'm a panellist for Bloomberg on disruption within our industry, and while many luminaries from across the business will passionately talk about the many disruptive technologies and inventions coming our way, I will be asking how we mentally and physically support and protect our leaders as they steer our industry. Because here's the real killer. It feels there is still far too much unnecessary stigma and silence around managing our mental performance. We often find that the traits that help propel these senior executives to the top of their game, such as superhuman stamina and resilience, often help mask the signs that something is amiss. They don't want signs of fatigue or unhappiness to be seized on by subordinates, and certainly not by competitors. We'll happily hire a personal trainer and even brag about it, but we think more than twice about working with a psychotherapist, never mind talk about it. It's time for change. Without doubt, there has never been a more fascinating yet extremely challenging time in our industry, and this makes us all anxious and excited in equal measure. But what if we started to really begin to understand our mind states better and realise, as we did around 15 years ago with our physical health, that incremental improvements not only keep us well, but increase our peak performance?